The third secret of Fatima. Does she still lie in the safe? Welcome everyone to today's episode of the Fact Hunter channel. Thank you for subscribing and supporting the Fact Hunter channel. When answering your questions, we always try to prepare to make sure that the answer is reliable and not pulled out of the blue. In a recent discussion among friends, the topic of the prophecy for the world contained in the third secret of Fatima came up. Much has been written about it, but it has usually been its quotation or speculation by homegrown investigators who have turned the real information into clickbait info. In today's episode, we will try to introduce you to the third secret of Fatima in terms of its history. All we know about the future is that it will come, and, as Pascal wrote, we don't think about the present, and if we do, it's only to draw from it the content of the future. Between May 13th and October 13th, 1917, 6 apparitions took place at Fatima. They were witnessed by 3 little shepherds. They were Lucia dos Santos, who was 10 years old at the time, 9-year-old Francisco and 7-year-old Jacinta Marto. The apparitions in question occurred on the exact calendar rhythm, on the 13th of each month, which provided an opportunity for the mass of the faithful to join the shepherds. The phenomena that accompanied these apparitions were visible to thousands of the faithful, the devout, and to ordinary onlookers who most simply gathered at the sight of the apparitions. In one of the apparitions, Our Lady announced that she would perform a miracle in October so that everyone would believe. The announcement of the miracle attracted more than 50,000 people. And it happened. A colorful glow appeared, like the aurora borealis. This phenomenon was accompanied by a swirling motion of the sun, which gave the impression that it was about to fall to the ground. The sheaves of rays took on unprecedented colors. They shimmered, glittered, changed colors. The 50,000 people panicked a little, but after a while they gave in to religious exultation. After this event, Francis and Hyacinth soon die, as predicted. All the mystery of the verbal apparitions remains with Lucia. Only she could address the Blessed Mother directly. Francis only watched her, while Hyacinta could see and hear her. The horrific contents of the third secret of Fatima were meticulously guarded by successive popes. Lucia advocated that the third secret of Fatima be revealed in the 1960s. Why? Well, in the 1960s, the predictions of the first and second secret of Fatima had already been fulfilled. The first spoke of the imminent end of a war and foreshadowed another, even worse, which was to erupt during the pontificate of Pius XI. The second prophecy spoke of the coming of communism and the October Revolution. Already in the second prophecy, the possibility of the end of the world was drawn. The third secret of Fatima was written down by Lucia herself in 1943, and she personally handed it to the Bishop of Leiria in 1957 in a sealed envelope, which was given to the Pope. It was never made public, but it is likely that by decision of Pope John XXIII or his successor Paul VI, the leaders of the United States, the Soviet Union and Great Britain may have been informed of it. This probably happened in October 1962, when World War III hung in the balance over the Cuban Missile Crisis. John Paul II considered it inappropriate to spread a message in which, as he said, we read that the oceans would flood entire continents, while people would die violent deaths, especially since many want to know about it just for the sake of curiosity and sensationalism. But earlier, a year after the Cuban Missile Crisis, on October 15, 1963, German journalist Louis Emmerich announced that he had come into possession of the third secret of Fatima, and published it in the pages of the Stuttgart-based magazine News Europa. The article was neither denied nor confirmed. Thanks to John Paul II, the world came to know the third secret of Fatima, but was it in its entirety? The highlight of John Paul II's pilgrimage to Fatima on May 13, 2000 was the Mass at which he beatified Hyacinta and Francisco Marco. Just before the ceremony began, the Pope had a brief conversation with Sister Lucia dos Santos. John Paul II approached the 93-year-old nun. They embraced each other as if they were good old friends, and after a while the door of the room closed behind them. The meeting lasted about 10 minutes. After the Eucharist, Cardinal Angelo Sodano wished John Paul II a happy birthday and revealed instead of the contents of the message of the third secret of Fatima, which until now had been known only to Sister Lucia, the Pope and the Prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. Cardinal Sodano announced that the text of the third secret of Fatima has been entrusted to a special commission that will compile it. He will annotate it with commentary and publish it soon. Elaborating the third secret of Fatima means preparing it for transmission in a form that will be accessible to the people. After it was announced, people were surprised to find that something was wrong in it, something was hidden, something had been deliberately elaborated so that it would not exert due emotion on ordinary people. What was developed in such a way? One can guess, and it's the worst, because during Father St. Benedict XVI's pilgrimage to Portugal on board the plane in a conversation with journalists, Benedict XVI alluded to the Church's most closely guarded secret. The Pope acknowledged that the Church is consumed by sin and suffering, and that pedophilia among priests was part of the last of the prophecies Mary made at Fatima. Well, the Church is an organization and it certainly has to take care of its good name. After all, it has been going on unchanged for almost 2,000 years. So let the Church face its own problems that affect it directly. Whether it will manage to come clean is another matter, but as they say, faith works wonders. We, however, are more interested in the fate of the whole world, our fate, which is recorded in the third secret of Fatima. As we have reached the text translated from the German newspaper Neues Europa, published in 1963 by Louis Emmerich, we will bring it to you in full. In our opinion, this is the text before the so-called ecclesiastical elaboration. A great punishment will fall on the entire human race. Not today, nor tomorrow, but in the second half of the 20th century. There is no order anywhere in the world. Satan holds power in the highest positions and directs the course of things. He is able to penetrate all the way to the tops of the Church. He is able to deceive the minds of great scientists, inventing weapons capable of destroying a large part of humanity in a matter of minutes. He will have the mighty ruling nations in his power. He will incite them to produce huge quantities of these weapons. If humanity does not oppose this, I will have to let my son act freely. Then you will see that God will punish people with greater severity than ever, even during the flood. There will be a fulfillment of the times and an end to all ends if mankind does not repent. And if everything were to remain as it is today, or even get much worse, the great and powerful will perish along with the small and weak. Also on the Church will come the greatest trials. Cardinals will oppose cardinals, bishops will oppose bishops. Satan will enter their ranks, there will be changes in Rome. That which is rotten will fall, that which has fallen will not rise again. The Church will eclipse, the world will be shaken by trepidation. There will come a time when no more king, emperor, cardinal or bishop will wait for the one who will come, however, but to punish as my Father intended. A great war will be unleashed in the second half of the 20th century. Fire and smoke will fall from the sky, the waters of the oceans will evaporate, foam will gush, everything will ruin and sink. Millions and millions of people will die hour by hour. Those left alive will envy the dead. Wherever you turn your eyes, everywhere fear, misery, ruins in all countries. Do you see? The time is getting closer and closer, the gap is widening, with no hope. The good will perish along with the bad, the great along with the small, the princes of the Church along with the faithful, the rulers along with their nations. There will be death everywhere because of the mistakes of fools and followers of Satan, who will then, only then, rule the world. Worryingly, accusations against the Vatican hierarchy for its silence on the third secret have recently been joined by those of African Cardinal Emmanuel Malingo, a charismatic figure with an undoubted influence on a wide range of the faithful. According to Malingo, the Roman Curia is tainted by the influence of diabolical forces that interfere with making prophecy public. To be more specific, among the highest prelates there are an alleged partisans of Satan, actively preventing the message of Mary from reaching its addressee, that is, all of humanity. Malingo is famous as a healer and exorcist, which equips him with a special, so to speak, competence in the demonic field. On the one hand, what he says seems to harmonize with Mary's prophetic accusations, in which allusions are made to diabolical diversions within the highest ecclesiastical circles. On the other hand, however, it must be remembered that in these prophecies the Pope is beyond all suspicion. Yes, he is a victim, never an accomplice to widespread wickedness. Therefore, contrary to the undoubted fact that the third secret is locked in a safe to which only the Pope and a few of his closest trusted associates have access, any allusion to the influence of satanic powers on the decision to make it public a decision at the sole discretion of the Pope, seems entirely without basis. On the other hand, by no means unfounded. Yes, it seems consonant with prophecy to claim that some Vatican dignitaries may be associated with these powers. Wherever this comes from, it is frightening, but it has nothing to do with the decision to ban the dissemination of the prophecy. The iconoclastic effect of the accusation hurled by Malingo on November 23, 1996, at an international congress under the banner of Fatima 2000, World Peace, and Mary's Immaculate Heart, was further weighed down by the fact that Father Martin Malachi, former secretary to Cardinal Augustine B., the chief exorcist in the United States, gave it credence. The latter was indeed at the side of John XXIII at the time he opened the envelope containing the text of the prophecy just sent from Portugal in 1957. He was therefore, besides the Pope, the first man to see them with his own eyes and, together with the arch-pastor, made the decision to remain silent.